Have you ever felt overwhelmed, as if carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders? Do you sometimes feel a need to take a break, but find the thought daunting or even impossible? In the hustle and bustle of our daily lives, we often find ourselves riding the wave of constant activity, never pausing to catch our breath, let alone take a break. This relentless pursuit can sometimes leave us feeling drained, anxious and disconnected, not just from those around us, but even from our own selves. The importance of stepping back, taking a breather, and recharging our batteries cannot be overstated. It's not just about physical rest, but also about mental and spiritual rejuvenation. It's about finding the balance that our body, mind, and spirit need to function optimally. But how do we know when it's time to step back and take a break? Are there signs that we should look out for? The answer is a resounding yes. There are indeed signs that suggest we may need to slow down, to pause and reflect, and to take some time for ourselves. These signs are not tied to any particular belief system or religion. They are universal, applicable to everyone, regardless of their spiritual inclinations or lack thereof. They are about recognizing our limits, understanding our needs, and respecting our capacity as human beings. So, if you've been feeling like you're on a never-ending treadmill, if you've been feeling the strain of constant pressure, or if you've simply been feeling out of sync with yourself, it's time to pay attention. It's time to listen to what your body and mind are trying to tell you. Today, we will explore 10 signs that may indicate it's time for you to step back and take a break. These signs are not definitive, nor are they exhaustive, but they can serve as a starting point, a guide to help you navigate the complex terrain of your own well-being. So let's embark on this journey together, with an open mind and an open heart. The first sign is dreading the day. This feeling isn't about having an occasional bad day. We're talking about a consistent sense of dread that hangs over you like a cloud, coloring every task, every moment with a gloomy shade. It's waking up in the morning and wishing you could just pull the covers over your head and hide from the world. It's the sinking feeling in your stomach as you think about the day ahead, a day filled with tasks that once perhaps brought you joy, but now only seem to drain you. Pause for a moment and reflect. When was the last time you felt genuinely excited about your day? When was the last time you leapt out of bed, eager to embrace the possibilities the day held for you? If you're finding it hard to remember, it could be a sign that you're in need of a break. Now, it's important to understand that life isn't always about sunshine and rainbows. It's perfectly normal to have days when you feel a little low, but when those days turn into weeks and weeks into months, it's a clear indication that something needs to change. You see, we're not just physical beings, we're emotional and spiritual beings too. We need joy and satisfaction just as much as we need food and water. They nourish our soul, fuel our spirit, and give us the energy to face life's challenges. But when we're constantly dreading the day, we're essentially living in a state of depletion. We're running on empty, and that's not a sustainable way to live. It's like trying to drive a car with no fuel. Sooner or later, you're going to break down. So what can you do if you find yourself in this situation? The first step is to acknowledge it. Recognize that you're feeling this way and understand that it's okay. It doesn't make you weak or a failure. It simply means that you're human, and like all humans, you have limits. The next step is to take some time for yourself. Step back from your daily tasks and responsibilities and give yourself permission to rest, to rejuvenate. Seek spiritual guidance, connect with your inner self, and try to rediscover the joy and satisfaction that life can offer. If you find yourself consistently dreading the day, it might be a signal that you need to take a break. Allow yourself this respite, this moment of calm amidst the storm, for it is in these quiet moments that we often find the strength to face another day. The second sign is procrastination. This isn't about the occasional delay or postponement. We're all human after all, and sometimes life just happens. What we're talking about here is chronic procrastination, a consistent pattern of putting things off until the last minute, or worse, not doing them at all. You see, procrastination is more than just laziness or poor time management. It's a clear sign that something is off balance. When we're overwhelmed, whether physically, mentally, or spiritually, We tend to avoid tasks and responsibilities. It's like a defense mechanism, our body and mind's way of telling us that we're running on empty and need to refuel. Consider a car. When the fuel gauge starts nearing empty, you don't push the car to go faster or further. You pull over at the next gas station and fill up. The same principle applies to us. When we're constantly delaying tasks, it's like our inner fuel gauge flashing a warning. And here's the interesting part. Procrastination isn't just about work or chores. It can also manifest in our spiritual practices. Maybe you're delaying reading that next chapter in the Bible, or continually putting off prayer time. If you notice this happening, it's time to pay attention. Remember, God doesn't want us to burn out. He wants us to live fulfilled, balanced lives. And sometimes that means stepping back, taking a break, and replenishing our reserves. So next time you find yourself continually pushing tasks to tomorrow, stop and reflect. Is this habitual procrastination a sign you're running on empty? Are you needing to take a step back and rejuvenate? If you're constantly delaying tasks and responsibilities, consider it a sign to step back. The third sign is an inability to focus. Picture this. You're sitting at your desk. You've got a task at hand, and yet your mind is everywhere but where it should be. You're not alone. When we're mentally fatigued, our ability to concentrate often takes a hit. Imagine your mind as a lens. When it's well rested, it can focus sharply on one thing, bringing it into clear view while blurring out the rest. But when fatigue sets in, that lens can lose its ability to focus, leaving everything looking hazy and indistinct. This inability to focus is more than just a minor inconvenience. It's a sign that our mental energy reserves are running low. Our brains, like any other part of our body, need rest to function at their best. When we're constantly pushing ourselves, never taking a moment to recharge, that's when we start to struggle with focus. Think of it as a car running on fumes. You wouldn't expect it to perform at its best, would you? The same goes for our minds. They need fuel in the form of rest to perform optimally. Now, this doesn't mean that every time you find it hard to concentrate, you should immediately drop everything and take a nap. No, it's more about recognizing this struggle as a signal that it might be time to step back, even just for a moment, and give your mind the rest it needs. It could be as simple as taking a short break, stepping outside for some fresh air, or even just closing your eyes for a few minutes. The key is to give your mind a chance to recharge, to refuel, so that when you return to your task, you can do so with a clearer, sharper focus. So, if you're finding it harder to focus, if tasks that once seemed simple are now feeling like climbing a mountain, it might be time to listen to that signal. It might be time to step back and rest. If you're finding it harder to focus, it might be time to step back and rest. The fourth sign is irritability. Now, we've all had those days where everything seems to get under our skin. The car in front of us is driving too slow, the coffee isn't hot enough, or maybe the phone just won't stop ringing. But when these small annoyances start to feel like major grievances, it might be a sign that you're carrying too much on your shoulders. You see, irritability is often a symptom of stress and overwhelm. It's as if your emotional cup is so full that the smallest drop causes it to overflow. The constant state of frustration is not just unpleasant for you, but it also affects those around you. It can strain relationships, create conflicts, and generally make your life more difficult. But here's the beautiful part. This irritability, this inner turmoil, it's not a punishment, it's a signal. It's a gentle nudge, a whisper in your ear saying, hey, it's time to slow down. It's a reminder that you need to step back, take a deep breath, and allow yourself a moment of rest. Remember, we're not meant to exist in a constant state of stress. We're designed for periods of work and periods of rest, just as there are times of daylight and times of darkness. And just like the earth needs the night to rejuvenate, our minds and bodies need rest to function at their best. So the next time you find yourself snapping at the smallest annoyances, take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself, is this a sign that I need to step back and take a break? Because sometimes the most profound spiritual growth happens not when we're pushing forward, but when we allow ourselves to rest, to heal, and to simply be. If you find yourself more irritable than usual, this might be a sign to take a break. The fifth sign is missing deadlines. In the grand cosmic scheme, time is but an illusion, yet here on Earth it's a tangible entity that governs our lives. Deadlines in particular serve as milestones to guide our journey. They help us measure progress, assess productivity, and maintain momentum in our various pursuits. But what happens when we start missing these deadlines not just once or twice, but with an unsettling regularity? It's like a cog slipping in the machinery of life, creating a discord that reverberates through our routine. This is not about an occasional lapse due to unforeseen circumstances. We all have those days. What we're talking about here is a pattern, a consistent inability to meet deadlines that you once handled with ease. Now, it's important to understand that missing deadlines doesn't necessarily mean you're not working hard. In fact, it might be quite the opposite. You might be pushing yourself too hard, stretching yourself too thin, and in doing so, you're losing sight of the balance that's essential to sustaining productivity over the long haul. When we're overwhelmed, our efficiency dwindles. Tasks that once took an hour now take 2. We're caught in a vicious cycle where we're working more but achieving less. And the missed deadlines? They're like alarm bells ringing loud and clear, urging us to pause, reassess and recalibrate. In these moments, it's vital to heed this call, to step back, to breathe, to recharge, to seek that quiet space within us where we can connect with our spiritual core and draw from its boundless energy and serenity. It's not about abandoning our responsibilities, but about equipping ourselves better to handle them. So if you find yourself consistently missing deadlines, don't just brush it off as a string of bad days or a temporary slump. Consider it a signal, a divine nudge, if you will, to step back, to reassess your commitments, realign your priorities and rejuvenate your spirit. Because sometimes the key to moving forward is taking a step back. If you are consistently missing deadlines, consider it a signal to step back. The 6th sign is anxiety. Anxiety, my friends, is not just a fleeting feeling of worry or fear. It's a constant nagging sensation, like a persistent whisper in your ear that won't let you be. It's like a shadow that follows you, even in the brightest of days, casting a gloom that seems to permeate everything. Anxiety can manifest in various ways. It could be about work, relationships, health, or even seemingly trivial things that somehow grow into monstrous concerns. Now let's consider this. If you're constantly anxious, if you find that your heart is often pounding with an unexplained worry, if your mind is always racing with thoughts, it's a clear sign that your body and spirit are crying out for a break. Anxiety in this context can be seen as a red flag, a signal from your own being that you're pushing yourself too hard, that you're not giving yourself the rest and rejuvenation you need. Think of it like this. When a machine is overworked, it heats up, it starts to malfunction, and if pushed further, it might even break down. We're not so different. Our bodies and minds need time to cool down, to repair and to regain strength, and perhaps most importantly, our spirits need time to reconnect with the divine, to find solace and tranquility in the presence of our Creator. So if you're constantly anxious, if your heart is always heavy with worry, it's not something you should simply brush aside. It's a sign, a message from your own body and spirit, and perhaps even a nudge from the divine. It's a call to step back, to take a break, to allow yourself some rest and rejuvenation. It's a call to pause, to breathe, to reconnect with your spiritual roots, and to find peace amidst the chaos of life. If you're constantly anxious, it might be time to step back and rest. The 7th sign is overeating. In our journey through life, we often encounter stressors that can push us to seek solace in various forms. Sometimes, this solace can take the shape of food. Overeating is not just about indulgence or a simple lack of control. It can often be a subconscious response to stress, anxiety, and emotional turmoil. Think about those moments when you reach for that extra slice of cake, not because you're hungry, but because it brings comfort. Or when you're mindlessly snacking while engrossed in a task, not even tasting what you're eating. This is emotional eating, a coping mechanism that many of us resort to when we're feeling overwhelmed. It's like an alarm bell, a signal from your body and mind that something isn't quite right. It's a sign that you're carrying a burden, perhaps one that you're not even aware of. It's a plea for help, a cry for a break. Overeating can be a form of self-medication, a way to fill the void, to numb the pain, or to distract ourselves. It's an attempt to satisfy our emotional hunger, not our physical one. But it's a temporary fix, a band-aid solution that doesn't address the root cause of our distress. But remember, you're not alone. Many of us grapple with this. The key is to recognize this sign for what it is. A call to pause, to step back, to take a breather. It's a gentle nudge from the universe urging you to take care of yourself, to seek balance and peace. So the next time you find yourself reaching for that extra serving, ask yourself, am I really hungry or am I eating to fill an emotional void? Listen to your body, be mindful of your eating habits. If you find yourself eating more than usual, this might be a sign to take a break. It's an invitation to seek serenity, to recenter, to nourish not just your body, but also your soul. The 8th sign is overplanning. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with planning. It's a valuable tool that helps us manage our time effectively and meet our goals. But when it becomes excessive, it can lead to burnout and signal the need for a break. Overplanning often stems from a desire for control. We map out every detail, every minute, every step to avoid uncertainty, to mitigate risk. But life, by its very nature, is unpredictable. It's full of twists and turns that no amount of planning can fully prepare us for. And when we try to control too much, when we're constantly planning and organizing, we often end up feeling overwhelmed and stressed. This type of stress can drain our energy, leaving us feeling exhausted and depleted. It can cloud our judgment, making it difficult to make decisions or think clearly. And it can rob us of the joy and spontaneity that comes from living in the present moment, from embracing the unexpected. Overplanning can also create unrealistic expectations, setting us up for disappointment and frustration when things don't go exactly as planned. It can prevent us from being flexible and adaptable, qualities that are essential for navigating the challenges and changes that life inevitably brings. So if you find yourself constantly planning, constantly trying to control every aspect of your life, consider it a sign that you may need to step back, to take a break, to let go of the reins a bit and trust in the journey, to embrace the unknown, the unplanned, the spontaneous. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but remember, it's in these moments of uncertainty and discomfort that we often experience the most growth. If you are constantly planning and organizing, consider it a signal to step back. The 9th sign is sickness. This sign might seem a bit more tangible, more physically evident than the rest, but it's equally significant. You see, our bodies have a unique way of communicating with us, a system of signals and alarms designed to grab our attention when something isn't quite right. Sickness can often be the body's way of saying, "Hey, I need a break." It's like a red flag, alerting us to the fact that we're pushing ourselves too hard, that we're under too much stress. It's a sign that we're not giving ourselves the rest, the care, the nourishment we need to function at our best. It's easy to brush off a common cold or a bout of flu as just a minor inconvenience. But if you find yourself frequently falling ill, catching every bug that goes around, it might be more than just bad luck or a weak immune system. It could be a sign from above that you need to slow down, to take some time to rest and recuperate. Stress, you see, can have a significant impact on our immune system, making us more susceptible to illness. When we're constantly on the go, juggling 100 different tasks, our bodies are in a state of high alert, a state of stress. This prolonged state of stress can wear down our immune systems, making us more prone to falling ill. So if you find yourself frequently battling with sickness, it might be time to take a moment to step back, to ask yourself whether you're taking on too much. Are you giving your body the rest it needs? Are you nourishing it with good food, plenty of water, and a healthy dose of sleep? Remember, our bodies are not machines. They can't run endlessly without maintenance, without rest. And sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is to listen to your body, to give it the care it needs. Because in caring for our bodies, we're also caring for our spirits, for our connection with the divine. If you're frequently falling ill, it might be time to step back and rest. Because rest, my friends, is not just about physical recovery. It's a spiritual practice, a way of aligning ourselves with the rhythms of life and the divine. The 10th sign is an inability to pray. This might sound surprising, but it's a very real experience for many people. When we're overwhelmed, we can sometimes struggle to connect spiritually. We might feel as if there's a barrier between us and our faith, a sort of spiritual fog that makes it hard to reach out and feel that comforting presence. You might find that you're having trouble focusing during prayer, or perhaps you're avoiding it altogether. This isn't a sign of a faltering faith, rather, it's a signal from your mind and body that you might be overextended and need to step back. It's like trying to have a deep, meaningful conversation while running a marathon. You're so focused on just getting one foot in front of the other that you can't fully engage with the conversation. Similarly, when we're overwhelmed, our minds are so focused on juggling our tasks and responsibilities, it becomes difficult to truly engage in prayer. This inability to pray isn't a failure on your part. It's simply a sign that you're human and that you're carrying a heavy load. It's a reminder that even the most devout among us need rest and rejuvenation. Remember, taking a break isn't about abandoning your faith or your responsibilities. It's about giving yourself the space to breathe, to rest, and to come back stronger. It's about acknowledging that you can't pour from an empty cup, and that taking care of yourself is a vital part of your spiritual journey. So, if you find yourself feeling distant in your prayers, or even avoiding prayer altogether, take it as a sign. This might be the moment to step back, to rest, to refill your cup. If you find yourself unable to pray or connect spiritually, this might be a sign to take a break. This is not an end, but a moment to pause, regather, and return with renewed strength and deeper connection. Recognizing these signs is the first step to taking care of ourselves. As we journey through life, it's essential to be aware of the signals our body and mind send us. Our spiritual journey is no different. Over the course of this video, we've delved into 10 signs that might suggest it's time to step back and take a break. We've discussed dreading the day, a feeling that can signify a deeper need for rest and rejuvenation. We've touched upon procrastination, an often misunderstood sign that you might be overwhelmed and in need of a breather. We've also spoken about the inability to focus and irritability, signs that your mind might be asking for a pause. We've highlighted missing deadlines as a symptom that you're spreading yourself too thin. We've underscored anxiety and overeating as potential indicators that you're under stress and need to take a step back. Overplanning, too, can be a sign that you're trying to control too much and, in the process, might be neglecting your own well-being. We've brought to light sickness as a physical sign that your body might be crying out for rest. And lastly, we've talked about the inability to pray, a sign that you might be spiritually drained and in need of some quiet time with yourself and the divine. These signs are not meant to be a source of worry, but rather a gentle nudge from the universe, urging us to take care of ourselves. It's a reminder that rest and rejuvenation are not just permissible, but necessary for our spiritual journey. It's an invitation to pause, to breathe, and to reconnect with our inner selves and the divine. We hope you found this video helpful. If so, please leave a comment below sharing your experiences. Remember, it's okay to step back and take a break when you need to.